This episode of Rick and Rick is brought to you by Taskin, the first name in ultra-stylish, premium-quality travel gear, like the Taskin Air Duo dual-sided compression packing cubes. One side's 100% air breathable to keep clean clothes fresh and wrinkle-free. The other side's odor and water-resistant to keep dirty laundry sealed up tight. Now you can pack up to 40% more in the same space. Save 30% on your next purchase when you use the promo code R&R Take 30. That's R&R Take 30 at TaskinSF.com.
Next up, on an all-new episode of the Rick and Rick Marketing Podcast, the Ricks are straight out of Comic-Con, with a wrap-up of 2025's Ultimate Geek Fest in San Diego, California. They're special guests, official Rick and Rick Comic-Con correspondents Kurt Ho and Eric V. And it all starts right here, right now, on the one show where everybody ricks things into high gear, and everybody rules the world.
Welcome to Rick and Rick Rule the World. I'm Rick Matheson, and I am joined, as always, by my good pal, Rick Wooten. How you doing, Rick?
I'm doing great, man. I'm still riding the high and dodging the crowds and spotting the cosplay legends.
That's awesome. Well, this time out, we are coming to you straight out of Comic-Con. Comic-Con International, that is. And we do have special guests. Kurt Ho and Eric V join us for this, our annual post-Comic-Con episode. And this year, Kurt and Eric are flipping the script on us because this time they're interviewing us about our Comic-Con 2025 experience. Welcome back to the show, guys.
Hello. Thanks. Hello, everybody.
It was great to have you guys. This is always one of my favorite episodes of the year. For listeners who may not be familiar with it, Comic-Con International in San Diego, California, is the premier event for all things comics and related pop culture. Movies, television, gaming, interactive media, cosplay, all kinds of stuff, plus a lot of brand activations. And this year, it was held July 24th through the 27th. And as always, it was not contained solely within the San Diego Convention Center. It extended throughout the entire gas lamp district of San Diego. So think Geekdom's version of Mardi Gras here. Now, as we record this episode, it's been a few weeks. So I'm actually really excited to kind of hit rewind here to revisit the week of fun, sun, Star Wars, and superheroes. So without further ado, Kurt and Eric, shoot us your questions.
Yeah, well, Rick Wooten, I know it's your first time at Comic-Con this year, so definitely interested in hearing your opinion. You're kind of the newbie or the virgin on this Comic-Con. Rick, I believe this might be your third. You could correct me if I'm wrong.
I think you're right. Third or fourth.
So can you, each of you, describe to me your overall impressions of the 2025 San Diego Comic-Con?
You go first, Rick.
Yeah, Kurt, honestly, I was completely blown away by the event. I'd been to San Francisco Comic-Con and the San Jose Comic-Con, Silicon Valley Comic-Con, and maybe even an Oakland one back in the 90s or something like that. So I've been to some of the smaller ones. I've never been to this one. And whatever I expected, this was several times bigger than that. It was absolutely incredible. I loved that it was definitely centered around comic books and that, in addition to that, there was a huge range of additional fandoms represented, movies, TV shows, gaming, collectible, all that stuff. And I really felt like it was a massive celebration of pop culture. I thought not just comics, but just like everything pop culture. The energy was like really positive and cool. And the scale of the event was just really impressive.
Yeah, well put. Even having gone before, I felt like this was at a much higher level. This was 135,000 fans, which I guess was a record, or at least the biggest crowd since 2019, so before the pandemic. And it seemed like a much larger crowd than I remember. It was zero personal space, but infinite fandom. And where else can you stand in line behind Galactus and Popeye the Sailor Moon or catch a ride from an Uber driver dressed as Gandalf? It was crazy. It was fandemonium. And like I said, if it was Geekdom's version of Mardi Gras, it lived up to it. I mean, it was a madhouse the whole time that we were there, in a good way.
I love that description, by the way, the Geekdom Mardi Gras. That's awesome.
Well, I mean, that's what the gas lamp always reminds me of. Like, we got there Wednesday night and it was already starting to hop. And we went to Ready Party 1 and it was party central. I mean, you could not move in this place and everyone was in cosplay. I think we were the only two people not in cosplay.
Yeah, no, that was a pretty impressive event. And the thing that really drew me there was the as you remember, when that book, Ready Player One, came out, I was totally enthralled by the book and the movie and all that. So when I heard there was a, opening night party that was themed around that, it was definitely top of my list.
Yeah, I'm glad it was. And now for Eric and Kurt, so was this officially number 20 or number 19 for Eric?
Yeah, we refigured it out. It's 20.
20, yeah. So as someone who's been there every year for 2 decades, what was your impression? I mean, how did this rate to Comic-Con's past?
Well, Comic-Con changes with the times. Like the number of major studios there was less and different, yet the ones that were there are quite impressive, like Lego. They weren't even selling anything. They didn't even have a store. They literally just pushing Lego, and you couldn't even buy anything, which I thought was interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the past, I think they did exclusives. They might have done exclusives, but I didn't really see any. But it seemed like maybe they've learned they could build their brand a lot better by making a bigger impression instead of just selling their regular products at the event, and basically made it a whole experience, because they basically built a Lego of the whole San Diego Comic-Con, the inside of the exhibition hall, and then had interactive places where people could build booths. And then they would put those booths in those areas. So then they were collecting all the things that fans were building up on these shelves. So it was a complete immersive building experience. And it was kind of trippy to see how they built out the whole convention out into the street. And it was like you looking into the convention at you looking at the Lego build. It was like...
Yeah, their display was spectacular. Listeners, you should go onto YouTube. They essentially did a Lego setup of the entire San Diego Convention Center, the outside, exterior, and then the inside, the showroom floor. It was very impressive.
Yeah, the sheer number of minifigures, that's a lot of minifigures, because just like how Comic-Con is packed with people, that diorama was literally packed with minifigs. And I don't even think any of them were duplicates. I have pictures. If you look, it's like, oh yeah, there's a Spider-Man cosplay person, but then, you're not going to find another Spider-Man with that same head or whatever. And then it also had the thing like you brought up. It had some things that were like particular Galactus. So there was a large minifigure, I think, of Galactus in that diorama, which on Thursday or Friday, I think, is when he was out walking around in real life.
And he glowed.
Yeah, this cosplay, this guy's encased in this because this costume, fully mobile, walking around, was at least 12 feet tall, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. I was thinking 15, so we're in the same ballpark.
Yeah, it was very impressive. I mean, professional. It was not something he bought. He built it.
Yeah, a lot of people seem to really put a lot of thought into that costume and how it works in motion.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing was just amazing. So I will admit, thought for sure we were going to see some flash mobs of Niamos, the song from Andor. Didn't see that, but I was impressed, and I guess I was expecting to see it. Really great costumes for the Fantastic Four, especially the Mr. Fantastic. Some of them looked exactly like Pedro Pascal, and incredible craftsmanship.
Especially with the extended arms and how it looks like it's in motion when he moves his arms. So here's the next question. What's the weirdest or unexpected thing that you saw at this year's Comic-Con?
I have to say it's somewhere between the most unexpected and the weirdest and the funniest was the session we saw with Todd McFarlane, where he decided to spend about 10 minutes of his time on stage explaining why he doesn't eat at the conventions because he doesn't want to have to go to the bathroom. And he kept saying over and over again, what goes in one hole comes out another.
Yes. And he stood up on a chair and mimicked like showing something going in his mouth and then something coming out the other end for several minutes. It was like 90% spawn and 10% gastrointestinal strategy, or maybe the other way around.
That's right.
Jeez.
That's right.
But you know what, Rick? I figured if you're charging $50 to $125, a signature, you probably do want to maximize your revenue and make sure you don't have to stop and go to the bathroom.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, that's what you get at Comic-Con, right? Unfiltered access.
Yes. These were, I don't know, more, I guess, on the weird side, things that I didn't expect. And I don't know, there was room for improvement. Let's just put it that way. One was the opening day queue, I think you guys did not get caught up in this flow that somehow we found ourselves in. But for some reason, when we entered the convention center, they set us on a path where you couldn't stop. You had to keep moving.
Exactly.
But it was a crawl because you're with 5 million other people.
Yeah.
It was like being trapped in an MC Escher drawing, but with more Deadpools. We couldn't get out. I was ready to give up on Comic-Con the first hour.
They literally sent us walking a full loop around the entire convention center on the second floor
For no reason.
and then came back downstairs to go back upstairs again.
I think on the badge on Wooten's, it says it's his first time. So it was like an initiation. Yeah. Because you can't avoid lines. They go, well, that guy's not going to, he might, go through the whole Comic-Con experience without standing in line. So we got to get him started right.
Yeah, and I just happened to be standing with them, so I had to go through it. Yeah. When we come back from the short break, we'll continue our conversation about brand activations at Comic-Con 2025 with guests Kurt Ho and Eric V. So don't even think about touching that dial.
This episode of Rick and Rick is brought to you by Taskin, the first name in ultra-stylish, premium quality travel gear, like the Taskin Air Duo dual-sided compression packing cubes. One side's 100% air breathable to keep clean clothes fresh and wrinkle-free. The other side's odor and water-resistant to keep dirty laundry sealed up tight. Now you can pack up to 40% more in the same space. Save 30% on your next purchase when you use the promo code R&R Take 30. That's R&R Take 30 at TaskinSF.com.
And we are back. Rick and Rick rule the world with Rick Matheson and Rick Wooten as we talk all things Comic-Con with our special guests, Kurt Ho and Eric V.
Eric, what about you? Any weird things that stood out to you?
Well, I was on the bus listening to this guy talk to this other guy in the seat in front of me. And he was basically saying he was going to seminary, so he's going to graduate religious seminary, and that his thesis is all based on comic book culture. And I'm just going you have an advisor?
Yeah.
You got someone buying off on this.
Right. And they approved this.
And now it's not like trying to convert anybody or anything like that. But he's talking to this guy he's getting his PhD in theology on the fact that there are these different dimensional planes.
Wow. Do you think he was serious or you think he was cuckoo?
Oh, no, he was probably both.
I just thought of something I wanted to actually add. One of my experiences, something that was totally cool, totally, we'll say sort of unexpected and super weird. So Hasbro in G.I. Joe, in the TV series, Zartan starts a heavy metal band, and it's called Cold Slither. So at Comic-Con this year, they actually had a concert, and they had the record albums. Eric, actually, I believe you purchased the CD, and I stood in line the next day because the band members were going to be there signing autographs. And what actually happened, how they got the band together, this one music production house producer asked all their musicians, hey, Hasbro is looking to put together Zartan's band from the G.I. Joe cartoon show. And then they auditioned these actual musicians. And so they got 4 musicians and they dressed up as Zartan's crew, the Dreadnoughts. And they wrote new songs. There's a whole CD. I believe Eric has that. And they stepped into the role. They played the part. They dressed just like the characters in the cartoon. When they showed up at the signing, they were totally, it was like, this is Spinal Tap. They were just hamming it up, all into it, taking, on the press photos. They actually got Music Monthly to publish this Cold Slither cover artwork on the cover of that issue. And when they were taking the picture, even one band member held the magazine like he was reading it, but he intentionally held it upside down. So, they were doing the full kiss expressions and with their tongues out. Yeah, it was incredible. Those guys were just so into it. And on the softer side, the guy who played Zartan in the band, when he was talking about why he wanted to play Zartan, when he was talking about his childhood memories of G.I. Joe, he came to tears. That's how emotionally attached he was to G.I. Joe and how much he wanted to be a part of this lore and for the fans of G.I. Joe to play Zartan as lead singer of Cold Slither. So that was quite unusual, kind of a once in a lifetime experience to see that.
Well, fun fact there is that guy is actually getting a PhD at seminary about comics culture. So it's important. Well, it's going to have to wrap it up for part 1 of our coverage of Comic-Con International 2025. In our next episode, we continue our conversation about brand activations at this annual confab pop culture awesomeness. So be sure to come on back to the one show where almost everybody's name is Rick.
And almost everybody rules the world.